don't know where I'm going.
Hey YouTube, are you in a band or are you a musician and you're looking to record multiple angles simultaneously like this clip here? If so, you might want to consider using Final Cut Pro for the iPad. I found it very useful and I'll tell you why.
Oh, let the truth be told.
I've been dabbling with this app for a few years now with very little prior video editing experience. I've been using Logic Pro and GarageBand for probably 20 years now, but I've always wanted to get into video and this was a good starting point for me. I feel like it's been a great introduction to video and video editing in general, and it allowed me to use the devices and cameras that I already had. You know, I had some old iPads and phones laying around, and the barrier to entry was pretty low. I know a lot of established video editors will tell you that it's probably not enough to do what they need to do, and I think they're right in a lot of ways. It's the same way I feel about Logic and how the iPad app doesn't work very well for me because I'm so much more familiar with the desktop version of Logic. But if you're new to either video production or music production, I think the app versions are actually a really good starting point. I kind of think of it like when I learned music production, I started out on the free version of GarageBand, and then moving up to the better software later was a lot easier after learning the free or simpler tools. I actually now have started to use the desktop version of Final Cut Pro because it is included with the Creator Studio, but I still find that the multicam feature on the app is one feature that I will continue to pay for because it just simplifies the recording process for me. At least at this stage, it's just easier to start all the cameras and monitor them all from my iPad right at the drums, which has been very crucial to my workflow. So for my use case in particular, my computer is also typically tied up recording audio. I like to record multi-tracks, up to 20 tracks at a time, and it just would be too much to run the computer at the same time. So being able to record the audio on the computer and then the multi-angles on the iPad has been a key feature for me. When I go to record, I put my iPad in a magnetic case by ESR, not sponsored by them, but I love it. It'll magnetically clamp to my metal music stand, which I find to be very stable and I don't have to worry about it moving around, which is particularly useful, especially if I'm out in a bar or in the live environment. I just want to make sure that it's stable and not going to go anywhere. So yeah, I've been using this setup to record drum covers, or I like to make performance videos of songs that I've recorded. We use it for the full bands down here, obviously, and like I said, I have brought this setup live out in real performances, which has been awesome. To do is download the Final Cut app on your iPad. You'll need one with an M chip. I like to use the Pro because I'm spoiled. I have an M4, but it'll work on the Air as well if you're looking to save some money, if you don't really care about the best screen. And I found that the old devices that I had laying around, like for a while I was using a 2017 iPad Pro 2nd generation, pretty old by today's standards, but I found that the quality of the light on your source matters a lot more than the video camera itself. So if you're using older devices, just make sure you give it some good light and you'll be happy with the results. All you need to do to get started is to download the Final Cut Pro for iPad, and then once that's downloaded, you will open a new multicam project. You will also need to download the Final Cut Camera app for all your phones or tablets that you're going to use to film. And from there, it's a pretty easy process to connect them. Your device, as long as you have Bluetooth on, should show up. You'll have to enter a 4-digit code just to confirm that you actually own the device that you're trying to film on. So you can't just film on someone's phone randomly without their consent. And then they'll show up in a list and you'll be able to place all 4 angles, up to 4, and then you can just start filming. And like I said, you can control the white balance, the focus, you can start and stop all from the main iPad, which is really nice. I think that's worth the $5 a month right there, just so when you're trying to film something and you're trying to record the audio, it's just easier to hit go from one device. I'm sure there's more expensive means to do this with real cameras, but since I'm a noob to video, this has just been a good starting point for where we're at right now. Alright, so you can see in this example here, this is a video of the cover band I'm in called Broken Arrow, and we are performing at a campground. If you look in the back, kind of by the drums, you'll see the iPad that I was using. It's mounted to the music stand like I mentioned before. And this is a good example of just what Final Cut could do on its own without any external cameras or anything. Obviously, they're all static shots, so it could be more exciting, but when you're an up-and-coming band or a smaller band, you don't always have the money to hire a videographer, so I find that the multi-angles is still more engaging and interesting to look at compared to just one static shot. And I've been able to sync these videos up with the audio from the soundboard. Usually the guitarist Arthur will record the audio, and it turns into a pretty nice final product. And I think it's really helped us get better gigs and starting to break into new markets just because of the videos that show what we're capable of. Now, the other videos, you might notice that there actually is a videographer, and that's when I started to encounter some hiccups using Final Cut for the iPad. Trying to sync the real camera footage up with the footage shot on the phone and the iPad, for some reason it just wouldn't sync up right, and that's when I had to export the video files off of the iPad project and then put it into the Final Cut Mac version on the desktop computer, and then using the speed editor I was able to sync them up. But even then, even though I had to use the desktop version, it was still very handy to be able to start and stop all the static cameras from one location. You know, we're limited on hands here when we're filming stuff like this, so it's still useful to me. And honestly, I don't think I'd be able to operate the desktop version as well as I am right now without first learning the basics on the iPad app. So yeah, I think it's worth it, and you'll see within a couple years, maybe less, you'll probably want to upgrade and use the full desktop version, but that's all right. I think if you're just getting started in video as a musician, I think that the iPad app is a great place to start. I didn't really do super in-depth in the workflow of how to use the app. I'm sure there's plenty of videos about that, but if that's something you're interested in, a full rundown of how to set up a multicam, I could try to make that video. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Check out some of my other old videos. This channel is kind of tech and music, sound engineering from the musician drummer perspective. But yeah, thank you for watching and take care.